So this is the fourth game of the series between Wars team, Agatsu's team, and SDC's playoffs. Once again, we'll go over the draft real quick. So we get the first pick, Draven. I think it's just because you have a Draven one trick on the enemy team, on the Agatsu's team, or one of the Draven players, which is perfectly fine. There's spots with the Nautilus and the Caitlyn. I think his lane's actually decent. We saw in the last game it was Taric Caitlyn, which, like I said, I just don't like the Taric and pretty much anything without like the exception of like a Sona or a Tristana maybe. The Nautilus serves a different purpose of you have more CC, you can play as the bodyguard for the Caitlyn a lot more. On top of the fact that you can dissuade ganks and you could help with that by having your hooks, and also you have your CC where if Nautilus can auto someone, if the Caitlyn's fast enough, you can set a trap down, which ends up kind of like a pseudo Morgana thing. So there's that. The Morgana also kind of counteracts a lot of that with the Black Shield, but if you put, I think, an extra point into your Q or E as Nautilus, you can kind of break the Black Shield early on. You have the Kled and the Shen. Not a huge fan of Shen into Kled. It's fine, like the lane matchup's perfectly fine and everything, but it's going to be one of those ones where it's pretty hard to split into, right? Which is one of those things with Shen is always having the option to split against someone, which is kind of why he's kind of fallen out of favor, and a lot of times you see him as a support champion once in a while. So, because it makes it where if you can't really split somewhere, it's hard. But if you're planning on being proactive with the Shen ult, it's perfectly fine. See how that goes. He gets the Volibear pick and the Annie pick. Annie pick is definitely one of, Scott's one of his picks, which is fine. Annie and the Corki. Honestly, the Corki should never die to the Annie because you just go Hexdrinker and then maybe Merc Treads depending on how you're feeling about it. You probably should go Merc Treads because there's a Morgana on the enemy team. But you do that, you pretty much never die. You probably won't have too much kill pressure on the Annie, but the Annie should never be able to kill you without you having the chance of being able to escape. This is solo, of course, it's not with gank. Volibear, not a huge fan of a champion that has to run at you against something like a Caitlyn who can set some traps down and has a net and also has a Nautilus who can body block for it pretty well. So that one's kind of questionable. How these lanes really want to play out is you definitely want to have the Caitlyn pushing in the Draven and the Morgana. What you could do is not terrible. Again, Black Shield's kind of be not as good as it would be with something like a Blitzcrank or a Thresh maybe. So there is that. Top lane is going to go even for the most part. Shen's going to definitely have to go at Tiamat into the Kled just so he can match the push so that he doesn't lose tower plates too fast so that when he leaves the lane with his ult, he doesn't lose his tower right away. Hecarim, which we see again, kind of surprised. He's been pretty much in every single game this series, but we saw how much a Hecarim can accomplish if you snowball on it early enough, which is really good. But pretty much only one game, the Hecarim was snowballing like it did, which was last game. So that's kind of a rare occurrence, but if it happens again, it ends up being pretty good for your chances to win. So there is that. Volibear is a decent brawler, at least. He could probably fight on early on, trying to make some of these ganks happen, especially up in maybe the top lane, possibly, maybe in bot lane if the bindings landed. But other than that, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this would work out. But the Shen and the Hecarim combo is actually looking pretty cool. If you have the Hecarim go in with the Shen ulti, then you have two people getting delivered towards the back line, probably trying to get onto the Annie more so than the Draven, depending on how fed the Draven is specifically. But just because Annie's going to have more of the AoE damage, is something you're going to have to worry about for boosting your carries. Also can go on the Draven too. And then it's going to be up to the Nautilus trying to peel the Volibear and the Kled away from the Caitlyn and Corki. As far as lane priority goes, it's definitely looking like Annie's going to have priority on the Corki for the most part, just because Corki's going to have to play relatively safe, not going to be able to play aggro too much, and have to be the second one to roam sometimes. And then the top lane is pretty even until some levels get added where the Kled starts beating up on the Shen a little bit more. So I'll definitely get to see how this works out in the end. Get into the champ select and go through the delay. Okay, so we get standard 5 points across everywhere. No one really doing an invading, which is kind of surprising with the Morgana and the Volibear, because the Volibear starting flip isn't the end of the world. The Volibear gets a ward here. He's going to lose out some of his HP, but not too much. And so that's like those trades right there with the Annie and the Corki, where Corki having stronger autos theoretically, but the Annie having longer range is definitely going to make up for that. So definitely have to see how that goes. Corki with a TP is a little rough, considering you're going against a burst mage. Definitely having something like a barrier would help out a lot, right? Because while TP kind of makes sense where it's like, hey, I'm low and I don't want to be bursted out, I should just base. But like, there's gonna be a point where Annie's gonna be able to do the majority of your health bar in rotation. So if there's any extra damage, it would kind of suck if you don't have barrier or heal or something. So definitely an interesting pick. Personally, pause was not that long. Personally, definitely would have liked more of a defensive summoner, but you could probably pull off the teleport, especially if you play around your package timings. So, alright. Volibear is going to start on top side, so is the Hecarim. Hecarim starting on top side makes a lot of sense. Volibear is starting on bot side. It's kind of, or on top side. It's kind of interesting. See, like I said, you get these really nice trades. Corki's Q and autos do a little bit more damage early on. Definitely interesting how to see. Smite on the blue buff works, I guess. Misthook to get a binding. This is where Nautilus is going to lose half his HP. Because you're playing a melee into 2 range. So you definitely should be looking to play a little bit more defensive until you hit level 2. So, let's see how else this goes. Getting pushed in is exactly what you want. Problem is, you kind of push really fast. So the wave is more towards their tower, and if they can try to freeze right there, it's actually good for the Draven Morgana lane. They hit level 2, misses the binding. We could see the hook here, but they're under tower, which is kind of the point I was trying to make, which is if you don't like really slow push, you push pretty hard, it is a little rough trying to capitalize on the level 2. Good nice binding on the Caitlyn, who's at half HP. Should definitely start thinking about chugging that potion. Top lanes is pretty even. Early on, Shen does a fair amount of damage. And keep up the damage against the Kled. Also, the shield's pretty nice. Mid lane, the Corki is winning because he outranges the Annie. And also, Annie doesn't have too much kill pressure without some items and levels early on. So, with the push on bot lane, it's really good. They have a Warrior Tribush, which is really nice. But honestly, they need to have the Hecarim be ready. And bot lane also be ready to fight over the Scuttle Crab. Because right now, you knew that bot lane didn't leash. So, there's a good chance that the Volibear is going to be heading down. So they have the Tribush warded. So Hecarim being in river, they're actually pretty safe here. The only thing that would happen would be a lane gank, which probably wouldn't happen just because it's, they're running straight at you and the Caitlyn could just E away. So definitely one of those things where it's going to be rough for the Volibear to help. And get a nice trade with the Hecarim doing some decent damage onto the Volibear. Once again, top lane. Neither one's going to gain the advantage, but with Conquer, it is a little bit more rough later on because you get that true damage and that healing for the Shen. Corki should eat up his biscuit. Okay, so okay, so with that kind of play, right, you're up in CS, right? And you've been using your range to your advantage, right? Which is what you want to do, except for Annie's autos are pretty long. But everything else is you're doing pretty good, right? I think a lot of this comes down to just not having a lot of synergy with your jungler. So you're at half HP. Yeah, fair amount of mana. Okay, so right here, you're just looking to Q auto, right? Like, you being on top of the Annie is not going to do anything, right? You should definitely be on top of the Annie if she's going to flash away immediately, or if, you're trying to catch up, right? But the Annie does flash right here. But see, you took a lot of your health right here, right? Annie immediately ignites, so you're not going to heal off of anything. You auto here, you're going to take all this minion aggro, right? Like, you have an entire wave right here. An entire wave that's going to hit you. You didn't trim the wave at all and everything. The Hecarim's still, like, a second behind. Alright. And the sound came on. Alright. And Annie is going to flash away and Q. And you're left with, like, maybe 100 HP. And you die because of an auto from the Annie and from all the minions. So this is one of those things where you just don't... there's no point of going right on top of the Annie, right? Like, you don't want to give her what she wants, which is a gap closer, because that's the biggest thing with Annie is, like, she needs her flash to be able to get kills, but it's like, well, if you go right on top of her, she doesn't need a flash anymore. She can just dump all of her spells. And she's going to do way more damage than a Corki will... in a combo, right? Because Corki's just going to be more about consistent damage when he gets items, while Annie can just use all of her spells to do a lot of damage that way. So, it also has Ignite versus TP. You should just never be the one that goes super aggro like that. So, mistake on the Corki part. See how that goes. Now, you probably should definitely be looking for Hex Drinker, which he's not. He's going for... so right here is, like, really bad. Like, let's say he's got 700 gold. He's got no defensive stats. He's got a ruby crystal that doesn't do anything. And you have a longsword, which is fine, lets your abilities do some more damage and everything like that, but it's not going to help you with tankiness at all when your Annie just got first blood, right? So this should be like a ruby crystal, or better yet, a null magic mantle, and maybe some wards is really what we should be doing, and trying to play it on the safe side. Hecarim here is trying to get the skill crab, which is fine. But your Shen should be roaming down probably, depending on what it is, because your Annie's not here anymore and roaming up. So the Shen's roaming down, which is good. And so this fight is fine. Might get the... Alright, so you get the kill back because the Annie doesn't have any summoners, and is not respecting the TP back from the Corki. So this is fine. I still don't like the purchase from the Corki, to be honest. But with the kill back, he does get some gold back in his pocket. And so the lane's in a little bit more of an even state now. Kled TP's top, gets the hook on bot lane, gets the trap. And that's, like I said, that's kind of how like this lane works, is if the Nautilus can hit the hook before the Black Shield, and or if the Black Shield goes on the wrong target, they should be able to get the kill, because you do have traps, which ends up being similar to Morgana Q with the snare and everything, but not with Morgana Q. Or the thing with Morgana Q is it lasts forever, so it's really easy to get the trap going. So that's really good. Shutting down the Draven early on definitely is going to be a great benefit for Red Team. So see how this goes. The Shen still hasn't base, so that's probably because you try to help out the Hecarim getting the Scuttle Crab. Waits out the W from the Shen so that he can get the rest of his enhanced autos off. Should try to be hitting the tower instead of the Morgana, because Morgana has no mana, right? So Harassinger is not going to do a whole lot. Like, you want tower plays. So this is the point of Caitlyn. You want to push towers, you want to get plates, you want to get money, you want to snowball the macro that way. So tries to get a gank on with the Hecarim, but you have to wait for the Kled to go aggro, and also your Shen still hasn't bought yet. So you're still kind of in this situation where the Shen's not going to be able to do a whole lot on the follow-up. So and so this is kind of a problem. All right, so right here, what people might not know is that Volibear does a lot of damage to a single target, especially if you're below half HP, because his bite is actually an execute, and he's also got Aftershock here, so you definitely don't want this to be happening. And also the Kled's roaming is going to be there faster, right? Because the Shen's still up here, hasn't responded yet, right? And he's now coming down. He's not in a spot to do anything, and just can't save the Hecarim there. And it's just Shen still hasn't bought yet, so his pressure in lane's like actually pretty limited, right? Right. So he's gonna maybe lose this entire wave. Like he honestly should be basing and just TPing back. There's no reason not to. Alright, so Corki loses good portion of his HP. Needs the base. Bot lane is doing perfectly fine, and this is how Caitlyn wins, where if you get a little bit of an advantage, it's really hard to go back on her, especially with the Nautilus being the bodyguard, because Nautilus does a lot of damage, and he has a lot of CC himself, so bot lane's winning is great. And so really right now we just need to have it where the Hecarim doesn't fall too far behind, and everything gets a nice hook onto the Morgana, because look at all that damage. I mean, you do half of the HP with like pretty much one Nautilus hook and combo and everything like that. So that's really good. That's why like this is a decent combo. Can't really dodge anything because Nautilus is so big. So Hecarim's going for the Skull Crab here, which is a little dangerous because he doesn't have Shen in the top side. Doesn't have Smite either, so it's going to be hard for him to get anything. And that... Okay, so that right there is one of the things if you're trying to fight a Burst Mage when you're below half HP. Right? So... Yeah, like it's just too like you're at a third HP and you don't have Sheen, you don't have any other damage items. Like there's no reason to be walking up to this, right? Like you should just be walking away the entire time, right? You still have Flash, right? This is one of the things where if you had a Ruby Crystal, if you had no magic, maybe, but your combat stats are atrocious compared to the Annies, so it's really rough to do anything there. Bot lane's still winning. Here's the Hecarim getting collapsed on. He's level 4 compared to level 6. And this is one of those sad tragedies where if you fall a little bit behind on jungle, like you're just super under-leveled compared to the jungle, or compared to the laners. So you have to be really careful here. Shen has ulti. Should be ulting right now, probably. Doesn't ult at all for some reason. Yeah, like you should just ulted like the beginning. Yeah, you blow like a long cooldown, but your Hecarim doesn't die. You don't give a kill over to your laner, so that's just a mistake. Bear's taking the jungle because your jungler died. Hecarim's gonna fall further behind, which is really bad because Hecarim is a snowball jungler. So. Shen is going Tiamat, which is fine because you need that for the push. Hecarim's trying to fight here, which is fine because Annie's not there. You get the flash, you get the ignite. Now the problem here is that Annie's coming pretty quick and they just see... Yeah. So, they go too far because you don't know where the Annie is who's coming up who has 2 kills already. And definitely has ulti, and you have a level 5. Because here's the thing, you have a level 5 Hecarim, so even if like Hecarim wasn't behind, right? Like let's say he had like items or whatever, right? The problem is that like he's just behind on levels. He doesn't have any HP, right? So here comes the Shen ulti, gets body blocked by his own AD carry, and everyone's kind of dying because they kind of got baited by the Volibear. Passive fails the flash, sadly. So the Volibear wasn't like 1 HP, right? That was definitely a thing, but it's one of those things where you just maybe like the Volibear shouldn't even gotten to 1 HP because you're over committing to a situation that's unknown, right? You don't have any wards. You have Annie who has none of your people that are there have any HP or MR, so the Annie who has 2 kills already is going to be able to burst you. Now the Annie's got 4 kills, so this is definitely one of those situations where you need to have HP and or definitely some null magic manos. So like this Corki on his next back should probably just go straight for a Hex Drinker. Hecarim's going for Warrior, which is wrong because you're behind already. Like Warrior's bad. Warrior's for if you're snowballing or if you're even, and I don't even like it if you're even. I still don't think it's that great. And you have Shen, who's got T-Mat, which is fine, but he needs to go straight into he definitely needs to go straight into some armor for his lane matchup, and probably some Merc Shreds pretty fast, just because you do have Anti-Stun and you have Morg binding, even though Ninja Tabe would be really nice against the 3 other people. So boots are kind of weird on what you really want, but definitely needs both armor and MR pretty fast. So. And he's got 6 Dark Steel stacks, and she's got some Dark Soul stacks too. So needs to be really careful. Corki needs to not be here because Annie's got Flash, and we'll have Flash pretty soon. It could Flash combo the Corki again. So definitely can go back. His package should be up pretty soon if he hasn't already used it. He might have. I haven't really been keeping good track of that. So right now it's all about the Hecarim needs to play around bot lane because your bot lane's winning fairly hard, mind you. And this is kind of where Shen starts losing these a little bit because the remount would suck and everything. So yeah, the Hecarim needs to play around bot lane. Corki just needs to play it safe because the thing with Corki is Corki doesn't really do a whole lot until he gets basically 2 items, 3 items. Like he gets his Triforce power spike, which is really good, but it doesn't matter anymore because the Anti's already fed and he can't like trade abilities or autos with them. Because his bot lane's winning, they're able to get this dragon, hopefully, through bot lane pressure. So that's great. They're only 700 gold down, which isn't too bad. So basically, you just need to try to avoid this Annie at all costs. Like, if she shows up, you need to run away really fast. And then for blue team, you just need to play around the Annie. Basically, either having where you have top lane shoved really hard so the Annie roams up and dives. Same thing with bot lane, but bot lane's usually being shoved into because it's Caitlyn. So Corki just buys double dagger. It's not going to help him not get bursted at all. So he might just feed more. It's not good. Hecarim's trying to complete his warrior. And it's kind of one of those weird situations actually where it's like, alright, you complete warrior, that's fine. But then you probably just need to go into like super defensive after that and like skip Triforce, which is going to feel really bad, but he needs to do that. Corki uses his package defensively. Perfectly fine. Because he needs to really play really defensive now because he doesn't have any defenses, right? Trying to freeze the wave. Here comes the Volibear. But with no one else there, maybe. Oh, it gets the binding. It's not good. But, your lane so far ahead that you actually could win this. Corki needs to run. Needs to run. He gets the kill, I guess, which would be fine. Another kill goes over to the Annie. It's not good, but at least he trades the kill, which is fine. The Caitlyn had flash, so if the Caitlyn flashed the binding, probably would have made it out and actually been really good, in a really good spot. So really just needed to flash the binding there. Get some turret plates onto the Dravens, helping him get back into the game also. You have the Shen pushing top lane, who had TP throughout all of that, I'm guessing. Let's see. Because if so, then that's definitely another mistake that happened. No. His all was down. up until, where is that? Yep, it just came up. So his ult just came up as everyone's dead. So that's tragic. That's tragic right there. Just a little bit of bad timing. So, oh well, he doesn't have TP either, so it's definitely one of those bad parts. That was just a tragic thing. But that's also one of those things where you could say that I'll have TP, so be careful, but they got ganked and they were trying to respond to the gank, so there's nothing you can do about that, sadly. Baron is still in an okay spot, so it's not too bad. Corki is okay. He's not ahead or anything like that, so it's definitely a little hard to get. Rift Herald, which is really good, and if they use it relatively soon, they could get some money to catch back up and close this gold gap, because it's only 1,500, and you get 2 plates, which is 300 more. So you get pretty close to getting even again if they are able to use a Rift Herald somewhere. Problem is that it's hard to use it mid because you have Annie, who's going to blow you up, and then you have Kled, who is fairly strong. He's not super strong, but he is fairly strong. He's got an entire Phage pretty much up on the Shen. Let's see. So now you have the Annie, who's looking bot lane a lot because that's the winning lane right here. All right, you have the Annie, who's trying to look for bot lane, clear wards and everything, which is what you really need to do in these situations, right? And this is where the Shen's going to start losing trades because just how the scaling works. But basically, because of the pressure that Annie's trying to do, it does feel a little rough for bot lane because they can't press their advantage anymore because of mid lane. Corki's trying to do things here. Gets the ulti from the Shen. And this is where Volibear still does a decent amount of damage. Problem is you don't know where the Annie is. Annie's roaming up. Gets the Valkyrie off, so that's fine. So that's actually okay overall. I mean, you use Shen ulti, which kind of sucks, but Volibear doesn't have flash anymore, which is fine. Bot lane can now go aggressive again because Annie and the jungler were top lane, so that does relieve some pressure there, which is pretty good. Did they use Rift Herald yet? No, they haven't used Rift Herald, so they're not going to get any extra money off of the plates there anymore, which is kind of sad, but not the end of the world as long as they try to get a tower now. So it looks like they're going to get second tower, because I think mid's gone for red team. Nope, it's there. So they get first tower, which is really good. They get some money. They're only 300 gold behind, so that's really good. So once again, the big thing is like you just need to try to avoid the Annie at all costs. This is fine, sort of. The problem is you still have a 0 HP and 0 defense Hecarim going on to the 5-1 Annie, who's got Protobelt, right? And has Flash. So you're not really keeping track of the Flash, right? So uses the Flash, gets out, but you get the Flash for free. That's actually pretty good. Probably could have bursted the Hecarim, but then would have died, lost all the Magi stacks, which he just bought, and lost the bounty. So that's probably a good flash by the Annie there. So making good proactive plays there is pretty good, being able to do that without dying. Let's see. Looks like Corki's going to go for Rapid Fire Cannon. I'm not a huge fan of Rapid Fire Cannon on Corki's second. Just because you're kind of a Spellweaver, and so you don't need a lot of attack speed to just straight up alternate between spells, because you're trying to get as much Triforce procs as possible. And if you're weaving a spell in between each of your autos, you don't need too much attack speed. So the flat AD and crit and half HP Hecarim going for Morgana does. I guess right there, what happened was that they saw the Morgana trying to clear wards on the Rift Scuttler, and then decided that, hey, between Caitlyn ult, my ult, and everything else, we can kill Morgana. But this is all with the assumption that no one else is going to be there, and other people were there. So kind of suicided there. Not great. Definitely need to keep up a good mental in this game, because while, if you're Hacker M, you are 0-4, your bot lane and your mid lane are relatively fine, right? Your bot lane's ahead, your mid lane's relatively even. Maybe not, maybe a little bit behind, because you're up 30 CS, you're down a kill, so probably even at this point. Shen gets the tower top lane, which is really good because you're trading objectives, which is really nice because you don't really want to fight the Annie right now because you have no one that can tank the Annie specifically. Run away from this is good. You probably play a little bit more aggressive because of the package. But now that everyone's roaming up and you have vision of that, it's really good. So they have vision, which is nice. What they need to do is start warding. Okay. Use the package, it's fine. The Shen goes in after getting comboed, but they get the kill onto the Annie, which is really good. And they get the kill on Morgana, Tibbers. Okay, so that's a really good team fight, actually. It was a really good team fight from Red Team. Problem is, so the reason why that went so well is because Kled wasn't there. He has his ulti. Let's see. Alright, so Corki has no Valk, so he has to play super defensive. Draven and Kled are still way far away, right? So they're super far away. And he tries to commit to the ulti. The Volibear's trying to run away, trying to do stuff. And they just kind of are caught up in this fight that ends up being a 4v3 with the Caitlyn coming in much later. So that's just kind of a numbers game, basically, right there, which isn't too bad. So Riftail is bot lane. Hagrim's going to go down there to try to push the wave a little bit to help with that. So right here, what they should do is try to get some wards into whatever side of the jungle they want to do. Probably bot side, because they don't have to worry about Baron. You want wards in the bot side area so that you can work on trying to get the tower and then maybe prep for the next dragon, which would be really good. They go top, or they split up specifically. The Hecarim goes bot lane, try to help with the Rift Herald, who I think does get the charge off, which is really good. Everyone else is top lane. This is kind of rough. So with the TP right here, they need to be running away immediately. As soon as that TP starts, they need to run, because Corki doesn't have enough mana to do anything. So he's not going to be able to Valk, he's not going to be doing anything. And Caitlyn, Nautilus has been doing fine by themselves in the bot lane, but everyone else has been doing better, so their power is about even. And so with Corki without mana, it's pretty rough here. So they needed to run immediately, because you know it's Kled, right? Who's going to be able to ult. I think he got trapped first. Alright, so you get the Nautilus get hit by the Kled ulti, which is good. And you get the Shen ulti on the Nautilus, expecting that the Nautilus is going to get hit with most of the damage, but that's not what happens here. So you needed to have the Shen ulti onto the Nautilus, onto the Caitlyn itself. And the other thing is, they flashed into unknown territory. What they probably should have done is try to flash back up more towards the top of the lane, because you don't want, because people aren't probably going to be back there unless they got TB'd there, or if they're going for the longest long con roundabout play. But you flashing towards the jungle and towards the enemy base, there's going to be more likely the enemy being there. So that was kind of one misplay there for that part. And with the Caitlyn dead, this is actually looking pretty rough, because Corki doesn't have any mana, so it's going to be hard for him to put out any damage, because he went Triforce first, right, which is what you're supposed to do, and he needs to weave spells in between, and he can't. So, another throw for another team fight. Hacker wasn't there either, so definitely pretty rough. So the Corki gets Phantom Dancer as his defensive item, which is perfectly fine. It's going to help him with some bursts against all damage types, which is actually pretty good considering the fact that, Annie's the only magic damage compared to the rest of the team. So, do you like that choice overall? Definitely think the Hex Drinker first, though, would have been probably the better overall laning it and everything else. Shen's trying to hold the tower. He needs to run now because there's no one else coming except for the Nautilus, so he's running now, which is good. Caitlyn sees that. They need to be careful because they have no vision in their jungle. So your bot lane's still strong. Like, your carries are still pretty strong. The problem is that your tanks are pretty weak, right? You have support Nautilus, who's about to get bursted here. Yep. And now you have your Hecarim, who went for a charge in and then immediately ulted out. Get a nice kill onto the Morgana, which is pretty good. But that's like the thing is, you went Warrior Hecarim here, so now it's like, alright, well, I charged in. Now I gotta ult immediately out and kind of be useless for the rest of the team fight. So, let's see. So, gold's kind of growing a little bit in favor of the blue team, and that's probably because of the fact that, you know, CS is getting picked up, some kills are getting picked up, maybe some shutdowns, maybe. But a lot of it's coming down to turrets that they're taking. So they're getting a lot of the turrets that they didn't have before getting taken now, and that's where the gold gap's coming, because the gold being even was mostly because of the Caitlyn roaming around trying to get the towers from everyone else. So Hecarim's going for Triforce. Probably shouldn't do that just because he needs defensive stats so he can actually try to survive some of this burst from the Annie and some of the damage from everyone else. Like the Volibear's trying to get some kills, so I definitely need some health for that and try to survive his burst combo. Yeah, so right now what they need to do is need to have vision on probably the Dragon more than the Baron. Because I don't think they really do Baron terribly fast. We get another pause. And also, I don't know if you could fight around the Baron pit with the Annie being as strong as the Annie is, to be honest. So, you just have to trade the objective and then try to play safe. Get the unpause, and Shen does have ulti. We haven't really seen the combo of the Shen Hecarim ult, and that's just because both of them are super far behind, so they just need to try to play bodyguard for the two carries they have. Nautilus gets hit by the charge, really good. People are still alive. Get the kill onto the Morgana, but no one's really peeling for your carries, and everyone dies. Okay. So, let's see. Alright, so we see the charge right here, because they're like, we see him, we're going to go in. Alright, so you have the Hecarim in the back who's trying to cause some disruption, which is really good. We have Package on the Corki, which is pretty interesting. Let's see what happens here. So the Corki packages in, which is creating some space, and I think this is how the Morgana dies to the Shen right here. But honestly, the Shen should be looking right here, right? Not over here. Because the Corki's in a spot where he actually can't help, and if he needs to get out, he can Valk this way. What you need to do is you need to be looking at these tanks who are on your support Nautilus, and they're going to tear through that support Nautilus really fast, and you have to be looking at your Caitlyn right here, right? So, the Kled gets off of the Nautilus, goes straight for the Caitlyn. Shen's going over here to try to kill the Morgana, and the Draven, who is 0 and 2, is getting chased away. It's not great, and I'm also pretty sure Corki is getting 1v1 by the Annie over here. So, yep. Hecarim realizes what's happening, tries to go bodyguard for the Caitlyn, but it is a little too late now, and everyone's going to die. Okay, so that is... So right there what the Corki should have done was, instead of Valking this way, which was actually kind of a fine Valk, right? Like this Valk would have been fine if the call then would have been, hey, turn on to the beefcakes that are attacking our Nautilus and our Caitlyn, so that you have the Corki Valk this way, just turns this way and starts hitting this. You have the Hecarim who's just buying time, and then you have the Shen who's going to try to body block for the Corki, who's farther up, and maybe try for the Caitlyn, but the Caitlyn could probably create enough space by herself. So what they need to do is just turn on this, instead of trying to keep fighting forward, because like you have the package ult that's going to be hard to run through initially. Should give you enough time to try to burst through the beefcakes over here, but they decided to not have the right focus there and the right calls. Gold leads up to 4K. Not terrible. It's kind of getting to harder to manage amount, especially with the Annie and the Volibear getting all the kills. Volibear getting kills isn't necessarily the greatest thing, but the problem is that the carries don't have enough damage to go through it, right? We have no anti-healing, right, besides an Ignite. Or we have 2 Ignites, I guess. But besides that, there's no anti-healing, so there's nothing to go through the passive. There's no natural tank shredding for Corki or Caitlyn, so that's pretty rough there, too. And yeah, Nautilus is trying to get wards and is going to get caught out, sadly. Should be fine. They really need to not be pushing this far up because neither of them have damage or health. And this is just the sad part for the Nautilus. Is chasing too far, sadly. Because even if you chase there, right, like, you're not going to kill the Volibear, right? Who's full health, and you have Hecarim who's 0 and 5, and your support Nautilus. It's just not going to happen. You don't have Ignite. It's not. There was no reason to chase there. So now, with 5K gold lead, they just need to ward Baron, try to make sure it doesn't happen. Shen went for Titanic, which is okay. It's not great because right now, like, the Tiamat's there mostly try to do wave management, get you a little bit more damage. Right now, he needs to try to survive and bodyguard for his carries, and more damage isn't going to help you with that. So that is a little rough. Try to keep the waves pushed out. So just keep a ward on Baron, and then after that, you don't have to worry about too much. Corki's extended here, as long as you can get over the wall. But then you kind of get sandwiched here. So you're trying to play a defensive. You're trying to have a defensive posture. You shouldn't be extending past where your tower would be, your first tier tower. And if your second tier tower is gone too, you honestly shouldn't be past the midpoint between your first and second tower. So this is just an overextension by the Corki itself. If the Corki had like package or something, that would be fine. Flash ulti by the Annie kind of just evaporates anyone that's there. Get the ult out from the Hecarim. And yeah, 2 people down. There's just not a lot you can do with 3 ults down too, or 2 ults down, I guess. There's just not much to do here. I mean, it shows you how strong a Caitlyn is, but like, Caitlyn's only on 2 items when she probably needs to be on 3 items to try to kill the Volibear, which is pretty much possible. It's a nice kill there. That's really good. But they need to keep backing up because this Volibear is going to buy enough time where it doesn't matter, right? And your Shen's going to die here because the Volibear still has passive, right? You don't have Ignite still for anyone. Caitlyn had to flash away from the Annie. So it's one of those things where, like, the Volibear is tanky enough. You have no way of killing him in time, where it's like you just have to give up on your posture of being offensive, and you lose your inhibitor for that now too. So blue team is doing pretty well. They're doing what they need to do for this. Honestly, they just need to keep building the correct items. Draven's still pretty far behind. Draven's kind of a non-factor here, so the only thing that's happening is the Morgana's trying to hit bindings and everything, and the Volibear is just tanky enough where it doesn't matter. No one has any anti-healing. And this kind of shows you where, like I said, Hecarim still doesn't have his Triforce done, and it just feels really bad, where it's like, let's say if you went Cinderhulk, you would have more HP, and he's still probably in the same situation without having Triforce done, but he would actually be a little bit more relevant having more HP and just taking up a little bit more damage. Or if he went Warrior and he just didn't go for Triforce afterwards, probably be really good. So taking a red here is probably not correct. You have both your carries have decent amount of gold and kills and items, so definitely want to give that red buff over to someone else and try to kite with it. Red team, what they need to do is basically keep the ward on Baron, or try to at least. Have to have someone answer the Kled, But as long as I keep the ward, like the problem is like, well, yes, it's hard to keep vision on Baron without getting caught out. It's why you need to have blue trinkets. I think we only have one, so we need, or maybe have two. Top lane might have it, I can't really tell. But you definitely need to have multiple blue trinkets. And you need to have your tankiest person face checking at all times, which would be your Shen, but he's in a different lane, so it is a little rough for that. But as long as you see them in the lane, like, you just don't go anywhere that's not warded, basically. So as long as you do that, wait out everything, try to get a little bit more items on the people, they should be okay. Corki needs to be running here because you have no vision on anyone else. You can get caught out here like that. Yep. So you have no vision on the other side, or even if you did, it's like you're not gonna be able to kill. Like, I'm pretty sure the Volibear actually could have just killed him under tower, to be honest. There, so Shen ult's late again, not able to get on the Corki, and just going to go on the Caitlyn, who's already dead. And this game is pretty much over. It's just a combination of things. Oh, Corki didn't go for a Phantom Dancer. I thought he had a Phantom Dancer. Maybe he sold it and got something else. He didn't keep it, he resold it in base. So, I think this game is over. Right here. Yep, looks like it. They're just going to get the kill onto the Shen here. Doesn't have his W down. Get the kill on the Annie, though. It's pretty good. But they just can't kill the Volibear because they don't have enough items. So, Nos is going to try his heart out. It's not going to matter. Caitlyn's the only one up. And Caitlyn doesn't have the items to do anything, and she's going to die. So, the big thing with this game specifically was itemization was kind of bad. Like, if Corki had Phantom Dancer, it would be fine because you don't have to worry about getting bursted super hard by the Annie, but probably should have on Hex Drinker first, especially once the Annie was 2-1. There was that fight where all three of them were there, where they were trying to chase down the Volibear, who was at 1 HP. You don't know where the Annie is, and she's going to do a lot more damage than your Corki and everything else early on, and the Annie had all... That's where she gets 2 more kills, and she's 4-1, and then it's a little rougher to manage, but no one really built super defensively, which needed to happen a lot sooner. Hecarim needed to not go for Warrior Enchant, or if he doesn't go for Triforce afterwards, because you're at a situation where you're 27 minutes in the game, and you're still like 300 gold off of Triforce, right? And like you're super squishy, you're not providing anything, you don't do any damage, like there's just kind of no point. Bot lane for red team was doing really well, but then the mid lane the Annie got fed, so they had to start paying respect to that, unless they were going to put a lot of vision in the bot side river, and if they did that, then they would have actually been relatively fine. So basically, they just needed to, if everything happened again where your jungle and your top start falling behind just a little bit, Shen's going to fall behind naturally just because he's Shen against Kled. You just need to play around your bot lane a lot more. You need to have your Shen all in TP specifically just made for counteracting plays on the bot lane, so that the bot lane can try to press their advantage. And if the blue team tries to capitalize on being overextended, that's where you have the Shen ulti come in and try to dissuade that fight, and you have the Hecarim down there trying to also put pressure there and try to play everything through bot lane, because that was your winning lane. The Draven was totally shut down and everything, and then you just need to have the Corki build super defensive, and you try to keep vision on the Annie, and so that the Annie doesn't get out of control fed and everything. So that was the last game of this series. This was between Better Cabs Wins and I guess Branded Hearts. It was Gatsu's team versus Ward's team. Might do this for the next series too, depending on how much time I have. But it was great. I got to see some cool games, some cool stuff. Takeaway from this is that it looks like Hecarim was highly contested from a lot of people. Whether it should have been or not, I don't know. There was pretty much only one game where the Hecarim was actually doing a lot, and got really fed and kind of carried the game. Everyone else was like either the Hecarim fell behind and didn't really do anything, or went even. It was just kind of there. It was just like, hey, I'm here, I'm Hecarim. I scaled decently well with items, and like I did okay. Like I didn't like snowball or anything like that. So that was kind of awkward. Outside of that, great games. and talk to you guys later.